One of the really sneaky elements of the YouTube algorithm that I have been falling prey to over the last, let's say, 3 to 6 months is this notion that when you go offline, when you go unconscious in your psyche, you typically fall prey to your limbic system, which is typically chasing things that make you feel good under the guise of what is actually good for you. So I have been finding myself over the last week going through all my subscription lists and actually recognizing that a good 30 to 40% of it fits into the category of feel good as opposed to is actually good for me. So in this video, I do want you to contemplate, I do want you to meditate on this notion on what percentage of content am I consuming, and this might pertain more to YouTube or perhaps other things, falls into that category of feeling good as opposed to actually good for me. And I like to categorize this as the kind of fast food versus whole food in terms of content consumption. So, consumption, what feels good versus what is actually good for us. We understand now. Now, some of this stuff you might get mad at me. In fact, I'm gonna make some of you mad. Now, the first one that I find myself going into more often than not are gossip-related channels. Now, the premise of these channels, you can center around entertainment. I get that. But the entertainment is gossip. It's all gossip. It's all individuals who are talking about Hamza and his downfall. It's all individuals who are watching those scam videos of the latest crypto scam and, Logan Paul, somebody who's stolen their money. Maybe one again, because I'm guilty of this as well, and I'm being open and honest and transparent in this video, is First Man and people being concerned about his 1M house rebrand and the legitimacy of that build, that business. Now, whilst entertaining, there is almost like this feminine reflex when you watch this kind of content, because it's all predicated on watching somebody have a downfall or get in trouble. It's the women at the office coolers who are talking about who's getting fired, who's getting a divorce, who's having an affair. It's very low consciousness, and it is not conducive to the highest version of you. Watching these things is not going to make you a better man. In fact, I would argue it's actually going to have the opposite effect. Yeah. You've heard of this idea before that only low IQ people discuss other people, but higher IQ people are going to discuss ideas and education. So, gossip channels, I've gotten rid of. The next one is going to be voyeurism. Now, voyeurism is a word used to describe the pleasure someone will receive in watching somebody else's sexual relations. Now, I talk about that extensively on this channel. I don't need to talk about it too much on this video. But I mean voyeurism just not in that context, but also the context of kind of watching somebody else live their life, or sometimes not even live their life, and gaining some kind of pleasure from it. Now, I've been guilty of this. I really have. I've mentioned here video games. Now, when I was at university, probably 2015, I would say, the first year I was in university, me and my housemates really got into StarCraft. StarCraft, if you don't know it, is a kind of strategy-based game, an RTS, and you have an army, you build up your army, you create your units, and you gather resources and you go and destroy the other team, right? Very, very addictive game, actually. If there's an Achilles heel for video games, for me, it's strategy games. Now, I remember I used to spend so much time watching this one guy called Loco or something like that. I think he was like some Swedish guy. And I would be watching him watch other people play this video game. I used to get my lunch and spend half an hour to 45 minutes watching 3 games of this kind of stuff. I have since, gladly so, distanced myself from that kind of content, but there are still some, this next part is going to sound harsh, and no personal insult to you if this pertains to you, but if you are watching people on Twitch if you are watching streamers, I really think that is the lowest form of time investment that you can possibly do. Rationalize this. You're not even watching somebody else live their life. You are watching somebody else play a virtual life. That has to hit on some kind of emotional level the rate in which that is a terrible, terrible investment of your time, energy, and resources. So Twitch streaming, that is very, very low on the consciousness scale. It's tremendously low. It's scarily low. NPCs is the phrase that has come to the forefront of my mind. Pardon the pun here. Now, far-right red pill rhetoric. I've said before numerous times that I don't like you guys to watch my content and come away with a poor feeling. I prefer you to come away with a peaceful feeling, or a hopeful or inspiring or enlightened feeling. However, I too fall prey to these kinds of videos that are typically reacting on women's content on TikTok around the dating landscape in the modern world. And it's terrible. It makes you despair. It makes you cynical. It makes you deeply mistrusting of women. It creates a kind of schema and reference point in your mind for all women as well. So if you find yourself watching too much of the stuff, now I think some of these guys are good creators because there is truth in what they are saying, but you have to be careful about how much you allow that to permeate your psyche. So I'll name some that I like. Better Bachelor is one. I believe there's a guy called Alex. I can't remember his full name, apologies, but they get a lot of views. And the reason they get a lot of views is because it's all predicated in invoking a negative emotional reaction. A lot of people are addicted to anger, addicted to apathy, addicted to their own despair. And it's horrible. As much as there can be partial truths in this stuff, is it good for you? That's the question I would ask you. Is it good for you? And the answer for me is no. No, it's not. Motivational videos. Now, I need to clarify in which the outcome of the emotional video is typically seen in. If emotional video is a means to an end of creating and facilitating action, fine. Go nuts. Watch as many motivational videos as you want. I've always seen motivational as little brother to discipline. Like, discipline's your older brother. He's the one you look up to. He's the one that the parents are proud of, that's carving his way into the world. And motivation's kind of like your little brother. Yeah. He gets kind of like these energy surges, these kind of sugar rush moments, and it's kind of really exciting. But he lacks consistency. You want to be more like your big brother. Now, that is the challenge with motivational videos, is they kind of come in very high peaks and steep valleys. They don't give you that consistent, satiating nourishment that is conducive to what you need. And that is usually found in the ones I'm going to reveal to you a little bit later. And the last one are content creators that primarily promote materialistic means. Now, some of these will kind of be your far-right red pill rhetoric. And it's typically, I'm always very cautious and slightly cynical. And maybe this is a personal point. You can kind of tell me if you agree here, because I imagine this point is going to be contentious, that self-improvement channels that are centered around money, women, and fitness, as much as there's huge interest in those three things, I actually think the prospect of these things is what most business is kind of centered around. Like, if you take any business in the world and you can normally accrue it to one of those things. But it is fundamentally revolving around these things, then you recognize eventually it's very, very shallow. It's very, very shallow. And on actualization of these kinds of things, they're all kind of predicated in one of the several sins. So for women, it would be some kind of lust. For money, it would be greed. And for fitness, it would be pride. Yeah. You chase these things 24/7, lust, greed, pride. That's what you get. These things don't, so the archetypal model for this is an Andrew Tate figure. Yeah? That individual, as much as superficially very, very attractive, but that's what it's steeped in, is those three things. What is a better alternative? And I'm actually glad, because I see more of this more and more, is more health conscious focused content. This is going to be a Huberman, this is going to be a Chris Williamson, but it's individuals who are primarily speaking about and fitness is going to be a part of health, but I don't mean the vanity metric of it. I also mean things like cognitive performance. I love the discussion around cognitive performance. I'm actually looking into psychedelics, psilocybin, and various different funguses that have been known to improve and repair the, I'm forgetting the term, but it's the insulation around some of the nerves in your mind, in your brain, that kind of prevent things like Alzheimer's and dementia and improve cognitive function. Big fan of Paul Stamets. Apologize if I'm pronouncing that wrong. Long form content. Now, the reason I just put kind of vaguely there long form content is because most content nowadays is short form and it just ruins your attention span. You will notice that I'm not doing quick cuts in my video. They're unscripted, they're lectures, and my feeling is I don't want to propagate and add to a disillusionment of your attention for the sake of views and the sake of my values and my moral compass and fundamentally my integrity. Yeah. So I've been watching a lot more lectures on Jordan Peterson. Jocko Willink is another individual that is a favorite of mine. You use these things in combination, long form content on health conscious topics. Very, very good. Very, very satiating. And just to kind of wrap this up into something a little bit more general that will kind of help you make smarter decisions in content that is better for you as opposed to feeling good for you, would be content that typically provokes action. Yeah, it is not this self-improvement, mental masturbatory, oh, these are really good ideas, I agree with what the individuals are saying. No, you want to distill that thought into knowledge, into action. And that's actually the definition of wisdom. So wisdom is knowledge synthesized into action. So many people will say very, very interesting things to you like, oh, fasting is very, very good for you. And you might ask the individual, oh, so how do you fast? And they go, well, I actually don't fast. So you see the disillusionment there of the character of this individual that is espousing this particular rhetoric to you. It doesn't hold a lot of weight. So on that line, gentlemen, I have an action for you, which is go through your subscriber list right now. You might even do this as you're watching the kind of end of this video. Look on the sidebar and just ask yourself a question. Is this channel that I'm subscribed to feel good, or is it good for me? And be brutally honest with yourself, because I had to get rid of a lot of people. I really did. One thing that, again, might help you with the 80-20 rule is have an account, a YouTube account for education primarily, which should be in here as well. And to be honest, most of these are centered around the rubric of education. And the other maybe for entertainment purposes. Because, again, I found myself the other day just surprised about what I was being recommended and looking at my history going, wow, I haven't watched anything that has been educational, informative, and is good for me. I've been just binging on junk food style content, on the far right red pill, people who are gossiping about other people and saying what terrible content creators there are, and you know how they're hypocrites and all this other bits and pieces. And it wasn't making me feel good. So, feel good versus good for you. Theories, facts. Speak soon.